Hello everyone, today we're making some barbecue with Mr. Andrew, aka Bama Hobby Chef. Where you go, by the way.
Roll Tide.
So what we're gonna be doing today, Mr. Andrew?
Yeah, Lorenzo, great to have you here. What we're doing today is some spare ribs.
Spare ribs.
It's about a 24-hour process. So typically I brine them overnight in some apple cider, just in a plastic bag. That's after I take the membrane off, and then put a dry rub on them about 8 hours before that. Once you drain the brine, and then let that dry rub sit on there for a while. The salt and all the spices and everything interacts with the ribs on the top of the meat, and kind of becomes part of it, and that's what gives us the bark at the end of the ribs. That's the dark kind of looking spice blend you see at the end of the cook.
Okay. And what does brine mean?
Yeah, good question. So brine just means putting salt into a solution. So a lot of people will put salt in there too, so they'll just use water. Some people use beer. Some people use apple cider and salt. I don't put a lot of salt in my brine. I'm really just looking to get moisture in. There's plenty of moisture in spare ribs, but brine just means typically to infuse flavor and moisture into the meat.
Okay, so you just put the apple cider in there?
Yep, yeah, just apple cider. So of course, when you get ribs, be it baby back ribs or spare ribs, the difference between those, there's a couple different cuts. The baby back ribs are taken towards the top of the rib cage, and are a tender cut of meat, but not quite as big and not quite as much fat content to it. If you're doing it at the bottom side of the ribs, that's what they call the spare ribs. These today actually are St. Louis cut ribs.
So St. Louis?
It's a good question. So that term came from barbecue competitions. When pit masters, when they compete, they want everything in a uniform manner. So I don't know if you guys can see that. But yeah, so you can see how all the ribs are uniform right here. If you get just a regular spare rib cut, it's got the rib tips on it, or the flank. So if you've ever been to a restaurant and see rib tips, that's all it is they just smoke the whole rack. They cut it up, all the extra meat pieces. This has already been trimmed. So,
and where'd you get this piece of meat from?
Yeah, great question, Lorenzo. So this one is actually this rack's from New York Butcher Shop in Cahaba Heights. It's a great location. We have several, good butcher shops here in the Birmingham area, which we're really lucky to have. Pillataries or Mr. P's up the Bluff Parks one. New York Butcher Shop is a great one. Of course, there's Whole Foods, which is a little bit more expensive, but good cuts, of pork. And then lastly, if you're looking for a really good deal and you're cooking for a big group, Restaurant Depot down in Wildwood area, Lakeshore Drive, got a ton of different options for pretty good value.
What all do you have right here on the ribs?
Well, I won't tell you everything, but I'll tell you a lot of it. So, as any good barbecue guy knows. But so first, probably the main ingredients in here are cumin. There's a little bit of cumin in there. Kind of a Mexican type of spice, southwestern type spice. There is some chili powder in here. I use both ancho chili powder and regular Texas style chili powder, about half and half. Some key ingredients to it is celery seed. Celery seed in the south here is really what gives us that barbecue flavor from a southern perspective here in the United States. And got red pepper, nutmeg, white pepper. Another secret ingredient I use is a little Miss Rubin's Black Magic out of Montgomery, Alabama. I put just a little bit on there because it kind of darkens up the bark a little bit. This is also known as gunpowder seasoning, if you ever heard of that.
Gunpowder seasoning? And that's from Montgomery, Alabama?
It is, Great stuff. Dark brown sugar, and then obviously salt and some other assorted spices.
We're outside about to light the grill. Tell us what kind of grill you got, Mr. Andrew.
Sure, Lorenzo. This is just a Weber kettle grill. They make about 3 different ranges of price range and accessories and whatnot. This is the middle level. You can pick one of these up about $150. At Rocky Ridge Hardware, where I mentioned earlier, or even Walmart or Home Depot or anywhere like that. They make a few different kinds. I would encourage getting one with the ash basket underneath, where you can keep it free and clear to allow the air to go up and really get the fire going. So yeah, we have that set up here. So just a regular kettle here. Got a chimney starter. Got some cowboy charcoal in there. I prefer cowboy charcoal to any of the briquettes just because I believe it's a deeper flavor, and I can, it's a little bit harder to control, but it's just, to me, it tastes better. So top of the coals right here, if you can see, starting to turn a little bit gray. So as soon as the top starts to turn a little bit gray, that's when you want to dump the coals. So we'll go ahead and do that now, and have some wood chips over here. This is apple wood chips in the bowl. They've been soaking overnight. So what we're going to do is we're going to dump the coals, then we're going to put the lid on, let it burn off for about 10 minutes. Then we'll put the wood chips on and start the smoky process, then throw the ribs on. So
Okay.
go ahead and dump in the coals. So when you're doing this fire, kind of arranging your coals, want to be sure to take any out of the drip pan if any fell in there. Obviously, you don't want that ash going back up to your ribs. And you just want an even stack of the coals. Don't want to get too many on one side or the other because you don't want any hot spots on your grill when you're smoking the ribs. Vents on the far side over here. That way the heat and the smoke's going to draw this way.
Okay.
So on these kettle grills, you want to leave it open. And then be sure down here, you're clearing out the ash pan to make sure air gets in there efficiently. So what we're looking for is to smoke ribs, brisket, chicken, somewhere around 225 degrees is where we want to be. Another point is, the gauge on the top of this is good as an example or kind of like a rough estimate. But I have one of these right here, which is called iChef. And I'm going to plug 2 probes in it and put these probes right on the grate. That way I can tell exactly what the temperature is at the grate, which will be the temperature obviously our meat will be smoking at. So I have some apple wood chips here. Put a few handfuls of those. 2 or 3 handfuls should do the job.
And you soak them for how long?
At least overnight.
Okay.
Some people say 30 minutes, but they're going to flame up on you if you do 30 minutes. So what I do, I got the ribs here. You can also tell when you put that rub on there how the juices start to come out a little bit here. You want that actually. That just means the salt's starting to incorporate with the meat.
Okay.
So that's really what we're looking for. We'll just put this rack right here, offset. Just like that. And then we'll get our 2 probes. Put one right in that area. Put another one right here. So the reason why I got 2 probes right here is since we're barbecuing, I want to make sure I'm maintaining temperature low and high, right? So we don't want it to go below 200 and we don't want it to go above 250 degrees.
Okay.
All right, so now we got the barbecue on the grill. So now we're about to make a barbecue sauce.
Yep, that's right, Lorenzo. So I do a Carolina barbecue honey barbecue sauce. I guess you call it Carolina honey barbecue sauce. So there's different ways to do it. There's a lot of different base recipes out there, but I've really kind of honed this one over the years and like it a lot. Okay. So one thing I do is a little bit different is I do saute a little bit of jalapeno in butter before I get started, just kind of get that good jalapeno flavor. You don't really notice it, so if you're not a big fan of jalapeno, you can use any pepper that you like. I take the stem, the white stem, as well as the seeds out. That way it's not too overbearing, spicy.
Okay.
So anyway, we'll get started on that. So just a little pat of butter here, put that in. Jalapenos here that we chopped up. Finely diced is what you want. If you're not a big fan of, chunks of onion or jalapeno in your barbecue sauce, you can strain it afterwards, of course. Not a big deal.
2-3 minutes with the jalapenos and butter.
Yep.
What's next?
All right, next we're going to deglaze with a little apple cider vinegar. You're not only deglazing with it, but you're actually using it as part of the sauce. So this is 1 cup of apple cider vinegar. Just go right into that. Don't let it get you over there. Okay, ketchup. It's just regular old ketchup. You can get Heinz or whatever you get.
Yeah.
I make so much barbecue sauce, I go with the cheaper stuff, which is great value. So, after that, we'll kind of move to the sweeter component. So we have some molasses here. You can get any old molasses. I prefer this Grandma's brand if you can find it. And we just want to do a half cup of molasses. Go a little old school with the molasses here, it's like Grandma used to use for biscuits and whatnot. So, you can get some local Alabama honey is definitely the way to go. They say if you, get honey that's close to you in region that'll help with allergies and immune type related diseases and whatnot. So,
half a cup of honey too.
half a cup of honey.
Okay.
Yeah. Just give it a good whisk. Is what you want to do. Just make sure all that incorporates really good. Don't want any hot spots on there to clump up the molasses or anything like that. Now I'm going to tell you some of the secret stuff, Lorenzo. So I'm going to throw in here. Yeah.
Can you keep it on camera?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you put it on camera. Yeah. So I've been making this sauce somewhere around 4 or 5 years. And I'd say I just got it perfected like I like in the past couple months. I was add a little sriracha.
Sriracha sauce?
Sriracha sauce. Actually throw a little Tabasco in. We're talking just a splash of each,
Splash.
Yeah. So, if you're going to measure it out, we'd probably be looking at a teaspoon, something like that. Yeah. Half a tablespoon or so of onion powder. Half a tablespoon or so of garlic powder. Southern barbecue celery seed.
Okay.
A little white pepper. I'd say about a quarter of a tablespoon. As you add these ingredients, you just want it to barely start bubbling. You see how it's starting to reduce just a little bit. After that, we're going to go in with a pretty interesting ingredient. This is organic marjoram.
Okay.
You get that at any grocery store. It doesn't have to be organic, but next is just a splash of liquid smoke. And this is a very controversial subject, Lorenzo.
Okay.
Some people hate it, some people love it. I don't use it in any of my foods. I don't put it on steak. It's kind of cheating in that regard. We're just using pure smoke today for the meat. But in a barbecue sauce, it is kind of neat. Another thing you can use is maybe smoked sea salt. Maldon is a brand that has some salt flakes that's really good, and they smoke it. So all of a sudden, you got smoky flavor in there. But this is just a dash of this, just kind of make it a little bit smoky. So overboard with your cinnamon. This is cinnamon. But you do want a little bit, and it just kind of stays in the background. Really helps the flavor. What you want to do with this is bring it to a boil. Not a hard boil, just kind of a soft boil, and then reduce it. We want this to reduce for about 30 minutes or so.
30 minutes? Okay.
So we're looking more for the consistency of it rather than the time of it. Once it's starting, you see right now it's pretty thin. Once it gets where it kind of sticks to the whisk, that it's done then.
Okay.
Okay, so the ribs now about 3 hours. Like I said, got some good bark going on. And at this point, we're going to the wrapping phase. So I'll take a large part of foil here. What we're going to do is we're going to take our ribs and we're going to place them on the foil. And at this point, for one rack, you want to use about 4 tablespoons of butter. So, just going to place these throughout the rack here. Just add them some flavors. What this butter does, makes them nice and moist, and just that little bit extra kind of luxurious taste that butter provides. Next goes on here is dark brown sugar. Very important not to use light brown sugar at this point, because what will happen is they'll just be too sweet on you. We already have a honey barbecue sauce. Brown sugar, dark brown sugar, if you taste it by itself, actually isn't too terribly sweet. So. The most important thing to watch out for when you're wrapping them is make sure you're tight, but if you get too tight, the bones will poke through the foil. So you don't want that. Another way to do it is just lie them face down and then wrap them that way. It prevents them from, the bones getting through the foil. But, you can get it tight enough once you get the touch right.
Okay.
I'm gonna unwrap them now, coming off the grill. They've been on there for about an hour wrapped. So the nice thing about it is when you unwrap them is just the smell coming off of them, super nice.
Okay.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
kind of glaze the top of it. You know, again, you're kind of looking to make sure they're done by looking at the bones. They're about 1/4 inch retracted.
Okay. So once the bones come out, it's done?
Getting close, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, the rest of it's kind of feel when you pull them off the grill. Kind of looking, what you're looking for is when you pick up the tongs in your hand, you bend them this way. Kind of see they start to give a little bit right in the cracks.
Okay.
So that's how you know they're getting close.
There it is, right here. Which one should I try?
Big boy.
Right here?
Yep.
High expectations. I like it. Say right here, top 3 barbecue I've ever had. My granddad's still #1, but Mr. Andrews coming close second. Just cooked perfection. Not too much bark. Let me get some more sauce. See how the sauce is. The sweetness of the sauce is A1. Alright. Thank you, Mr.
My
Andrew.
pleasure, Lorenzo. Bama Hobby Chef.
Yeah.
Check it out on IG.
Yes, sir.
Along with March Productions.
Alright. Thanks for having us over today. Tune in for the next time on whatever this series is called. Doesn't know what it's called. And to my guest that's not featured on the camera, thank you. And subscribe, like. We'll see you next time. As always, keep marching. Let's see. You're good.
Alright. What's up? You all right?
Yeah.